Hey, today on episode 481 of the I Am Salt Lake podcast, we chat with our new friends Quinell and Adrienne Dixon from Embrogo Embroidery. Hey, we get to find out all about their Embrogo embroidery business. We find out what brought their family and their business to Utah. We get to talk about a Kickstarter that they have going on right now. Hey, this was such a great conversation, you guys. I think you're going to enjoy it. We enjoyed chatting with the both of them.
We really did have fun, but before we share that conversation with you guys, we should probably introduce ourselves.
Probably.
I'm Chrissy Hollifield.
Hey, I'm Chris Hollifield.
And we're married, just if you didn't know. If you're a longtime listener of this podcast, you probably did know that, and welcome back and thank you for joining us again. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, you might be wondering what it's all about. Well, we're here every week with a brand new episode where we get to showcase awesome people in Salt Lake City, Utah. We get to talk to breweries, distilleries, food truck owners, business owners, authors, tattoo artists, really anyone that might have a cool story to share.
All right, like I said at the beginning, Quinell and Adrienne Dixon from Embrogo Embroidery joined us on this episode to share their story. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the conversation. I want to start right off with how you guys got into embroidery. I mean, where did that start for you? Let's start right there with the embroidery.
Absolutely. So the embroidery niche, right? Well, before it was really a niche, the embroidery space was nothing that I intended on jumping into. That's like anything, right? Like you almost are like, you find a small need, and just because there's a small need for it, you kind of explore it. So giving you a little bit of backstory, I'm a choreographer before an embroidery specialist. I'm a choreographer.
What?
And yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So as we were trying to, or as I rather was trying to figure out how to create and generate more income, I was trying to make my own dance brand. I was, selling hats. I was selling shirts. I was trying to do whatever it was I could do. And then I met a dance mom who's like, hey, I have an embroidery machine, because I realized I was spending like $15,000 a year just in embroidery services rendered. And I was like, how do we cut this cost? So, being an entrepreneur, you're like, hey, how do I do everything? So
yep.
Found a machine. Initially, she gave it to us for free, but we all know how that goes. So she started realizing we were making money, like with the embroidery machine. I was posting on Instagram, and she's like, hey, I'm going to need you to send me money, or I'm going to have a cease and desist letter.
Oh, boy.
Wait, this lady that let you borrow the machine was telling you she wanted to send money?
She gave it to you, and then she wanted you to pay her after she realized it was valuable.
After 3 or 4 months, yes, she realized the value. And initially, my wife was like, is she serious? What's going on? And I was like, you know what? Nothing is free. You know what I mean? So we ended up paying her the $3,000 or whatever it was that she wanted. And then, we just kind of jumped on this journey of embroidery. And as I was going down this lane of embroidery, I wanted to be like all the embroiderers I saw, right? Here's a minimum order quantity. This is what you have to get. These are the stitch counts. And as I started to realize that was not valuable, I wanted to reach out to the person like me. Hey, I only want 5 shirts done. I only want 10 shirts done. I only want 5 hats done, 7 hats done. And I realized that there was not a space that embroiderers were creating for the little guy who's not even a guy at all yet. You know what I mean? So that really sparked.
You have to invest a ton of money or you can't have it.
You know what's interesting about you saying that, Quinell, is when you were talking about there isn't a place to go for 5 or 10. That's exactly the reason that I Am Salt Lake we haven't printed up any hats, because we haven't had the funds to print 500 hats up.
Yeah.
I mean, so this is great. Maybe we'll talk after when we're off here,
Oh, absolutely. No, I know you guys have your stuff in Empire, and and we're firm believers in, hey, that with your small niche of people, dude, it's going to collect dust. Embroiderers make you do 500 pieces, and it's just going to sit on the shelves and collect dust. So we found that we found that small place, especially here in Utah, where there's a lot of mom and pop businesses that are thriving, doing well, yet they don't have a voice for their merchandise because it's costing them too much just to get merchandise, and it shouldn't have to. We found that was a really nice boutique niche that we found that we excel in.
Is that hard? Because you think embroidery shops only do so many huge orders because it's cost effective. Do you find that it's still cost effective for you to be able to do small runs? Or was that kind of tricky to figure out?
Like Quinnell had mentioned, the word boutique. When you go into a boutique, you're not going in there expecting to get the cheapest thing. You're expecting to get the good quality thing. And because our customers are looking for small batch embroidery, we're able to give that to them at a reasonable price, but it's not a wholesale price. Mm-hmm. It's a price that is feasible for us and allows us to live. And it's a quality price with a quick turnaround time. Mm-hmm. It really just depends on the business. We don't work with companies that are wanting wholesale pricing. Mm-hmm. They can easily go to a different embroidery company and have that stuff done. They could easily go to China and have that done. Mm-hmm. That's not what we do. We had to niche down. And that took some time to realize, but Quinnell saw the vision for it right off the bat. And he started this business from the ground up on his own. And as it grew, I saw that, hey, you can't do everything. Let me see what I could do to help. So
that's so cool that you were like jumped on board.
It started from the bottom, and it's just like we only have so many things we can juggle. I'm fortunate to be able to be a part of it now, but initially it was literally this man building it from the ground up, renovating the trailer on his own. I'm working a job. He's
and you
building
guys have
the
kids,
business,
right?
and it was just grind and hustle mode.
2 boys, 12 and 7.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So they're like active age.
Yeah.
That's very much.
And then we were in the middle of moving to Utah as well.
Where did you guys move from?
San Diego.
Oh, it's so pretty down there, but it's cool here too.
I guess I got kind of lost there a little bit. So back in this embroidery machine, you got this embroidery machine, then you ended up purchasing it from the person. When did it become like a full-blown business then? I guess I got kind of lost in there when it became a business.
Yeah, and when we gave you the whole recap.
Yeah.
So 2017, we launched this idea, right?
Yeah.
Or I launched this idea. Our first account was Rip Curl. Okay, Hurley and Rip Curl.
Those are big.
Yeah, they are. And you know what? They actually sparked, without knowing it, the idea of small niche embroidery. They hired me to come out by the beach in Huntington Beach, or Pacific Beach in San Diego. Hired me to come out. They said, hey, I know this is weird, but would you be interested in bringing an embroidery machine to Pacific Beach and embroidering on the beach on the spot? I was like, that's weird. That's not what all the embroiderers are doing, but okay, I'll do it. So I went down there, and all I'm doing is embroidering initials on hats. And they're giving me $10 every hat that I embroider an initial on. And I'm like, this is cake. Like, this is really easy. So from there, you try. I had different people. I had different businesses. Hey, I need 500 hats. I did a few of those. And I was like, I'm literally working for these people. I'm doing 500 hats. I'm literally making 80 cents on a hat, after cost and material and whatnot. But since then, we've refined. And now, like Adrienne said, and like we were saying to you both, we are a premium boutique that predominantly works from 0 to about 100 pieces for the most part, unless it's a sweetheart of a deal, and we'll do more than that if they're willing to pay for it.
Right on.
I got you. So now you're doing it out of like a camper. Is that kind of talk about why you decided to do it out of a camper versus like just getting like a warehouse space or an office space or something like that, a little more concrete? Absolutely.
So I had this blog that went out, and it got no attention, right? It was just an idea thing for me. But I had this blog went out, and I said, I'm not your stay-at-home pedal pushing mom, and I'm not your corporate introverted guy, right? I was like, I want to make this. I was basically saying I wanted to go against the grain, like the idea of a Build-A-Bear. Why do you like Build-A-Bear? Why do kids like Build-A-Bear? Because they see it being built in front of them as an experience. Why do people like going to Krispy Kreme donuts and putting their kids up on the glass? Because you get to see the donuts being made. So in hindsight, I didn't realize at the time, but I was trying to create an experience with embroidery. I didn't want to be the average embroiderer that did what average embroiderers do. So with that, coupling being from San Diego, a lot of businesses are ran in campers and food trucks and a lot of these like kind of cool spaces and hip spaces for 2 reasons. 1, for hip appeal, and 2, for cost effectiveness, because to open up and build out in San Diego, back then at the time, and even more now, it's impossible unless you have venture capitalists and whatever. So found this trailer at the junkyard for $500. I told Adrienne, I think I like a camper idea. She's like, oh, okay, another one of his ideas, right? Like, even with me, it was like another one of my ideas. She came home, Chris and Chrissy, she came home from work, and there was a camper. There was a camper trailer in our driveway that barely fit. This was in San Diego, barely fit. I'm talking, this thing is 8 feet wide. Our driveway is 8.5 feet wide. Like, you couldn't even really walk around it. And I just went out and got it, from the junkyard for $500. And as I got it, it was like, holy crap, what are we going to do with this thing? I had no idea, right?
That makes it real.
Me 7 months. Yeah, and it sat for about 5 or 6 months because I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm researching on YouTube. And then this is when it became real to me. I'm embroidering in our garage. The camper's there. It's one of those shower moments where you're just kind of in the shower. And I'm like, what's going to be the name of this thing? I'm like, embroidery. How do you go? Embroidery. Leave with it. You take it. Embrogo. Embroidery on the go. And then if you look in the middle, it says bro. And I'm like, I'm black. Embroidery on the go by your bro. It's done. Let's go. Sign me up.
That's when you realize.
I'm like, done
so
deal.
Cool.
But just from that light bulb moment of a name, I don't know why, my head just went down. I started figuring out how to build this thing out because I'm a brand guy. I love brands. I love the brands that make sense. Like Chrissy, right now you went, oh, it just made sense.
It did. It was actually very exciting that it's layered. A layered name.
So I had that light bulb moment, and from then, boom, there we go. And that was That was late 2017.
So, like, what made you guys decide to move up here and bring the business with you?
We were not thriving in San Diego. I was working my tail off. Quinnell was starting Embrogo, and we just were spinning our wheels way too fast.
Yeah.
It's that quality of life thing. We weren't happy. And Quinnell would visit Utah every quarter. And he's like, hey, I actually really like the community in Utah. So we visited as a family.
That's awesome.
I didn't love it the first time. I was like, I don't really see what you see. Then we left the kids and him and I just visited. And I'm like, you know what? Okay. By that time, I mean, we didn't really have anything tying us down to San Diego. My father had passed. And I'm like, you know what? There's nothing holding us here anymore. Let's go. Let's just go. We'll probably be able to experience more quality of life there because it's not as expensive and I won't have to work this job that I didn't love in banking. And so we moved. And it was like within 30 days, we were like, boom, let's do it. And it's been the best decision for our family. Mm-hmm. It's been the best decision for our business.
That's awesome.
Now, why was Quinnell coming to Utah? What was you saying he was coming every quarter? Was that for like another business he was coming to Utah?
I was teaching choreography.
Here in Utah, you were teaching it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I had no idea what a Utah was. So initially I got booked to come and just teach at like a jam. They call them jams, like a session, right? It was a small little event just with the urban community here. But then I got booked to start coming and setting choreography on places like Rocky Mountain Dance and Dance Impressions up in Bountiful. It's just a lot of these dance studios where you're setting choreography and they compete with these choreography numbers. And I just really started to see like this community is actually kind of cool. First, it was the dance community that I really loved. But then I started to realize when you come like to Sugar House and Liberty Wells and a lot of these different areas downtown, you start to realize that, hey, this almost feels like San Diego, but 50% cheaper.
Hey, I like that.
So I was like, we could do that. So,
and once you find your tribe here,
yeah, you find good tribes here. Like I feel like we're still refining our tribe, but we do have solids that we're like, hey, these are our people, So I feel like you can live anywhere. We say it all the time. You can live anywhere in this world just as long as you have your tribe and a community that backs you. And I think that's one of the biggest things. So
yeah.
Dude, that is so cool, man. That is really so you got no family here, nothing, huh?
Nothing. Us. We all we got.
That's great.
But you know what, Chris? I can say this honestly, and Adrienne just touched on it a little bit. We realized that there was nothing really holding us, right? So my father had passed when I was 22. Adrienne, her father passed in 2017. my mom is still there. Our family is still there. But it's weird because when you're in California, the only time you really see family and hang out is on Thanksgiving, Mother's Day, Christmas, right? Because everyone is working their asses off to be able to live there.
Yeah.
That you don't see them. So it was nothing really different for us moving, because that was one of the main questions. What about your family? You're leaving your covering. I was like, but are we? You know what I mean? Because our covering we hardly saw anyways, because we were working to try and make sure that we can actually live by, like, afford everything. So that was a real defining moment for us, is people don't want to leave comfort when it's in actuality, it's comfort.
It's complacency.
Yeah, it's complacency. It's not the comfort, it's complacency.
For us anyway. We were just complacent, and we had to get uncomfortable in a different way to realize, wow, like, this is how we can start thriving, and this is how we can start building, is by freeing up our time. Mm-hmm. And it's made all the difference for our kids, for us both to be able to be here and be present. And Embrogo has allowed us to do that.
I love that, because you can, like, I read this somewhere and I don't remember where, but you can always make more money, but you can't make more time.
All right, we're going to take just a moment now and talk about one of our awesome sponsors. And I want to remind everybody, when you're supporting our sponsors, you're directly supporting the podcast. Hey, UtahMarijuana.org, they are your number one spot for all things medical marijuana, medical cannabis, CBD, and THC. I want to give a shout out to Tim Pickett. You guys remember him way back on episode 420 when we got to talk about medical marijuana here in Utah. Well, now UtahMarijuana.org is our sponsor, and their team of medical cannabis experts, they make getting your medical card super easy from your first office visit to navigating the state card application and beyond.
With over 20 compassionate and highly skilled qualified medical care providers ready to help you find relief, you won't have to search for a doctor willing to recommend cannabis treatment. The patient experience team at UtahMarijuana.org is dedicated to helping you get all the way through the process so you can get your medicine legally. And right now, they're offering an exclusive discount to I Am Salt Lake listeners. Use the code GREEN25 for $25 off your first visit.
Use that code. Seriously, write that down. GREEN25 is going to get you $25 off your first visit. And it's going to let them know you came from this podcast, and so you'll be supporting I Am Salt Lake podcast. And if you're in the North Salt Lake Bountiful area, check this out, because they have a location right next door to Wholesome Co., which is located at 580 West, 100 North, number 4 in Bountiful. So depending on where you're located in the valley, if you go to UtahMarijuana.org and then click on like the clinics there, they got locations all up and down the Wasatch Front. So go take a look. UtahMarijuana.org. Thank you so much for being our sponsor. Isn't it time that you took control of your own health? UtahMarijuana.org. Feel better. So, I mean, you're happy you came to Utah, right? Like, it seems like you're pretty stoked that you came here. I mean, it's everything that you seem to...
Everything you hoped for?
Yeah, everything you hoped for. I mean, it seems like the community...
I'm sure there's some not so great parts,
before we even started chatting, I mean, it sounds like you've met some we have some mutual friends and some great people in the community here that have been very supportive of what you have going on. So that's great.
I'm excited for you being here because we have such a good, supportive community. All the small business owners, as you've noticed, like meeting people, it's a very uplifting environment to be able to do like a boutique style thing in.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about this Kickstarter you're doing though, man. Let's talk about this, because at the time of this recording, it's 16 days still left to go. So we still got probably a week before this launches. So you still got about a week left. So that's the perfect time for our listeners to get in there, to get involved with your Kickstarter.
Throw some money.
What? Tell me why you do. Tell me about it. Tell me why you're doing it. What's going on?
Absolutely. So I'll start, and then Adrienne can definitely jump in on this. So I'm a big believer in, and some may say, hey, you know what? It's your business. You figure it out. But I'm a believer in, if you are a community brand, then your community should be the ones helping you essentially thrive, right? I love looking at brands that thrive off of community, not like, oh, we got venture capitalists and it becomes such a detached feeling, because you're like, well, this isn't about where it came from anymore. Like, we like going to local coffee shops. We don't go to big businesses, chains to eat. there's a lot of different facets that we love about small business. And then, you're keeping it in-house. And bigger than that, you're keeping it in that family. When people buy an article of headwear from Embrogo, they're supporting Cassidy and Ellis to be able to do things like go to these skate parks, play sports, have drum lessons. It's deeper. You know what I mean? For us, it's deeper than that business. It becomes more of like the family at that point. So I really love that. But long story short, jumping into the Kickstarter is we launched this Kickstarter. We are raising $30,000 to move the business from a trailer to a Sprinter van. So we actually want to move this into a 2500 extended 177 extended Mercedes high top van. And this is those are nice. And it's for a couple of reasons. One, it's for fluidity, right? We can hop in it and literally leave, right? And I kind of fought against it because I'm like, dude, vintage trailers are so cool. They're so hip. They're inexpensive. But just yesterday alone, and I'll tell you this, just yesterday alone, my nephew had to help me pull this trailer onto the car. We got it to the location that we set up, and we couldn't even get the trailer off because it was stuck. We walked 2 miles back to my house, like just little stuff like that. And I can only foresee
little inconveniences that add up.
Yeah, I can only foresee more hiccups, right? We have a friend, you guys may know him in the community. He goes by Old Cuss Coffee. He actually got inspired to do his trailer after seeing ours. He did a trailer about a month and a half ago. Unfortunately, he was driving through. There was black ice. His truck made it through. His trailer hit the black ice, completely totaled his trailer, his truck, and then his wife was driving behind him. She got out the car to go check on him because he had busted his face up, and then a car hit black ice, hit that car. So it was like just, I don't know. I feel like the Lord.
I just have to know if they're okay.
Yeah, they're fine. Okay. Yeah, they're fine. They're good. He got like 10 stitches in his mouth, but his business on wheels is done. And not because of any particular reason, but because of the trailer hitting black ice and it couldn't handle the skid. Just so I don't know. I mean, I call that superstition or call that me looking at signs. But we're like, okay, it's about time, So that's reason number one. Reason number two, and the biggest reason is when you give to this Kickstarter and we get into the Sprinter van, we are not only doing business, but we're building half business, half family, to where we can travel all of our United States. And COVID really showed us that spending time together as a family, getting out in nature, experiencing life in a different way is really huge for our family. So we'll be able to do that fluid, taking our kids around, giving them different experiences, popping up to different events, festivals, and subconsciously we're instilling something in our children to say, hey, mom and dad doesn't have to work a 9 to 5 and then give you the last few moments of our time. You're going to experience life with us and our business with us. And we think that's going to be really helpful. We did a trip to California in this thing. And then we hiked up, we camped up, we did a whole bunch of things going to San Diego, back home. We did an event in this thing. We slept in this thing. And it was really cool to show the kids that experience. And we're like, let's one up this and let's put it in something that's going to be more fluid, more effective, and more essentially a peace of mind for our family.
I love it. It's like you're creating a family business. So then when your kids get older, man, maybe they can, carry the legacy a little bit there, and
right.
See where it goes.
I just know that they have options, man. I feel like in the climate of life that we're in now, you can see and you can hear a lot of negativity, especially centered around, urban communities and Black business, not even Black business, being just African American in this world. You see a lot of things are like, it's almost like we're counted against. We have so many obstacles to overcome. We're getting killed. Like there's a lot. And it's like to not even desensitize our children to it because we talk about it, but we also want them to know that you can thrive. You can be a young Black boy in America running a business. You can travel, you know what I mean? So I think it's really instilling a lot of those principles and values that we hold dear to us as well. That's going to help our kids know that, hey, yes, it's crazy out there in this world. And these are some of the things that you'll run into, but you can also overcome these obstacles and things and be a young Black man in this world and thrive as well.
I love that. Like you're doing everything and considering about how you're empowering your sons with it, which is really cool. I don't think a lot of people do that.
We decipher a lot of our decision making based on the kind of, what do you say all the time? We just want to do what? Raise what?
We want to raise decent human beings and well-rounded human beings.
That's like a really good goal, you guys. Way to do it.
And believe it or not, being a family of color, being a BIPOC family, we have to try that much harder, because it's sad to say that in many cases the odds have been in opposition of us. However, that is a motivating factor that fuels us to want to bring the best efficiency to the market that we're in. So another reason why we feel as though it's important for us to get out of the trailer and into a Sprinter van is so that we can create a more efficient process in terms of giving our customers a premium experience when they are purchasing with us, and better fluidity. All around, it's going to make for a greater Embrogo brand experience when we can get out of the trailer, this wonderful trailer that has served a great purpose, and next level it in a Sprinter van. That's not going to be the end of anything. That would just be the beginning. We have ideas, franchising ideas to grow it big. And in order to do that, we have to take it to the next level. That's really what it comes down to.
You guys are like a real disruptor in the space. So I can see that happening easily. Like you could easily build out and franchise, because it's such a disruptor. Like you said, like Build-A-Bear is a disruptor to teddy bears, right? You know, it's something that's really cool and only you do.
Yeah. I haven't seen anyone do it yet.
Let's talk about some of these rewards. You got some cool rewards for your Kickstarter too, to maybe kind of entice some of our listeners to come and become a Kickstarter, help out a little bit about that. I don't know if you want to kind of quickly go over any of your rewards.
Let's quickly do that. I'm pulling them up as we speak.
Okay, I do love the picture of you guys on your Kickstarter page. It is so cute. It's just adorable.
You know what's funny, man, is that I realized that, obviously like doing this brand alone for a while, it was working, it was fine. But the moment like my pretty wife joined, all of a sudden people were like, "Oh, this is really cool. Husband and wife team." I'm like,
you said it, so now I can say it. She's so gorgeous. Anyone who's listening and not looking, you are so gorgeous.
Thank you.
See,
it's true.
And Quinnell, that's how I felt when I brought Chrissy in, man. That's how I felt. I was like, finally, this podcast makes sense now, man.
Yeah.
That's how,
Honestly, being able to free up Quinnell is the visionary behind. He's a visionary through and through, right?
Yeah.
He is a pull the trigger type of dude. Anything that he any thought that he has, you can guarantee that idea is coming into fruition some way or another. He's just that type of dude, and he inspires me in that way. I'm very much so a logical person who thinks myself out of things quite a bit. So I say all of that to say that when he was able to offload these frivolous things that are actually very important to keeping a business going, when he was able to offload them, our business experience, our customer experience, it went up because I specialize in customer service. That's where I come from. And so when I was able to take over the customer experience side of things, that created a more pleasant experience through and through for our customers. And Quinnell can actually start working on he's a great networker. So building the network, getting out into the community and all of the other things that will grow the business in a different way.
Yeah.
I love that. You divide and conquer because you have different talents and different skills.
Absolutely.
That's the way to do it.
I think that's hard, man. Chris, I see a lot of the creativity that you have as well. And I think that's really hard to say, I'm going to almost give up parts of like this baby that I've built, when a lot of people that want to tag team, they just want to do it in the best interest of what you're doing. But it's really hard to be able to say, okay, I'm going to offload this because it is a pride thing.
Well, and it's tough because you know what you want, you see the vision, and it can be scary to bring other people in who may not have the same vision because you know what you want to do. And it's like, if anyone else messes it up, then it's not what you wanted. So,
exactly.
But then it's like, and then delegation is important. It's a very tricky thing.
Mm-hmm.
So these rewards, before we forget the rewards for Kickstarter, before we get too sidetracked here.
Yeah, I got them right here.
It looks like you got quite a few, man. I'm going to let you just kind of run down it.
Yeah, I'll be quick with it. So if you donate $10, you get a virtual written letter from us. It's straightforward. You know what I mean? It's almost like I called it the I barely know you pledge, because it's like, dude, everyone has $10. Stop going to Starbucks once. Give us $10 and we'll send you just a thank you, right? You donate $25. That's that bronze medal pledge. And what that bronze medal pledge is you basically get 2 pens. So you get 2 enamel pens that basically says I back Embrogo. You're basically showing, hey, you know what? I get behind this. It's worth $25. And then we also do, check this out, a written letter, not a virtual one now. So now you get our personal penmanship.
Oh, wow.
On top of that, for $25. Adding to that $50, same two rewards at the beginning. And then we give you a social media shout out, just letting you know in our community and our sphere of influence that we acknowledge you. $100, similar. It's the same 3 rewards above, but then you also get a custom embroidered hat by Embrogo. If you give $250, the same 4 that we gave you before, now you get 15% off for an entire year. So you have all of the rewards that we said before. We give you 15% off of your purchases for an entire year on Embrogo. These last 3 are really good. If you give $500, you get everything that we mentioned previously. And then now you get a custom hat with your own fabrication. So with your own name, the Chris or the Chris and Chrissy Hollifield, or whatever you want to name it, you get that on our website. You also get that with the $750 reward, but you become a VIP 20% off for life customer. So you give $750, you get 20% off of your deal every time you come to our website. And then the last one, which is my personal favorite, obviously, because it's $1,000. But with that $1,000 investment, you get everything that we've stated before, the 20% off for life, a custom hat with your name on it. You also get the name of fame, which is we basically etch your name into a piece of our trailer. I mean, not trailer, a piece of our Sprinter van, so that you rolling with us for life. You know what I mean? Literally,
That's
you rolling with us for life. And then there's a 3-course meal private dinner that we're going to do with everyone that was $1,000 backer. And you get the inside of, where we're forecasted to go first, the events that we're doing, just, the inside scoop of everything. So that's just a quick rundown of those rewards. And if you go to the Kickstarter, which I'm sure there's going to be a link to, you can look more in depth on what those rewards entail as well.
Yeah, I'll put that link at iamsaltlake.com with this episode, with the show notes there with the links and everything. So if people, can't find it otherwise, you can go there to iamsaltlake.com with this episode.
Exactly.
And click it there. I mean, that's great. I mean, is this your first Kickstarter that you've ever done? Have you done a Kickstarter in the past?
So this is our second one. Our first one was actually for the renovations of this trailer. We were asking for $4,000. We got $5,200. And that just goes to show right there that, your community will stand up for you. And not to mention, Chrissy kind of alluded to it earlier, it makes it more serious, right? So when people give you that money, one, they're expecting a reward, but they're also expecting a return on that investment because they want you to show them what you're doing. So that built out this trailer for our first one. So then we say, you know what, we're going to quadruple the ask, and we're asking for 30 now. So now it's, at first people backed it on just a prototype idea, but now people know it's concrete now. So that's why we feel asking this isn't really anything out of the ordinary or out of the blue.
No, you're just leveling up.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And I guarantee the community is happy to help,
yes,
how we can.
Off the top of your head, do you have any advice for someone that might launch? Like, what do you know now from doing a Kickstarter that you could give advice to somebody who might be starting one, who might be launching one? Do you know what I mean? Does that question make sense?
Someone who's never done a Kickstarter and has thought about it.
Yeah, man. Cause I think about them from time to time, even like, what advice would you give me if I wanted to do a Kickstarter?
I have 2 good pieces of advice that I'm actually going through right now. Have no expectation for who you think is going to give to it. No expectation at all. I was going through my memory bank, and I'm like, as many friends as say that they're my friends, or as many friends as I have, you would think they'd give $5-10. But when you have that expectation, what do you do with that expectation? You expect them to show up, and when they don't, you're let down, and then you almost question the friendship. Don't do that. Have no expectation as number one, because if that expectation is not met, then you take it personal. And when you take it personal, it has nothing to do with that person at that moment. It has everything to do with what you said in your own mind. And then the second thing, have faith and patience. I look at this thing probably every 30 seconds just to see what the heck is going on here. And you just can't. You just have to believe that your community is going to back you. You have to believe that you're going to get on things like I Am Salt Lake. I was 100% sure that this episode would not make it in time. Right? Like I was just almost sure in my head. I was like, and then it was actually cool because when I launched it, I forgot for a second. Oh man, midway through, we're going to be on the podcast. That would be rad if we can actually make it for the community. And you just said it'll make it for the community. So, just having faith in certain processes are the two biggest things. Have no expectation, number one. And second, have faith and have patience in the process that you're hoping to get a good return on.
And I think you could put that in any aspect of your life.
I was just going to say that's really good life advice,
that's good life advice, man. Because that's what, even Chrissy and I, man, that's like my biggest problem is I can get really anxious because so often I live too far in the future, man. I'm too far ahead. I'm I got to just be right where I'm at today, man. I can't worry about 6 months down the road. I can't worry about, And because I'm always saying, even if you plan everything out and you have all of your ducks lined up, something's going to come and just knock them all over.
We came up with, we had this thing, I forgot what we were reading, but it was just a simple quote that we said to each other. And I don't know if you remember it, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Literally, it is what it is.
Yeah,
you get what you want. You're striving for it. Okay, it is what it is. Or something bad happens, you're like, I wasn't expecting this. It is what it is. And I think that way you don't have these peaks and valleys of life where you're like, I'm so holding on to this. Like right now, we're going through the process of wanting to buy a home. And we went by the house today and we're like, and in my mind, I'm like, it is what it is. If it happens, it is what it is. If it doesn't, it is what it is.
What will be, will be.
Yeah.
Especially right now in the housing industry, right? Especially right now. Dude. I'm not jealous of anybody out there right now trying to look for a house. At least from what I've heard. At least from what I hear out there,
Yeah.
So.
Fair point. We're not looking, but.
Really quick in Salt Lake. You're getting snatched up left and right.
It's so crazy.
Do you see yourself ever getting into screen printing or any of the other aspects of, because a lot of times embroidery people kind of get into screen printing and other similar type engraving maybe. I don't know if you plan on doing anything there.
We like being able, so have you ever, no. For me and for Quinnell, when we go into restaurants and the menu's too large, we get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Right? And we're like, I don't know what to get. Oh my gosh, what's even good on this menu? They don't get to focus on just a few items because they have so many items to make. Mm-hmm. And I think that affects quality, ultimately. We don't plan on expanding and doing screen printing. We had a heat press for a while, and it was more of a headache to use that heat press to get a few $100s here and there.
Yeah.
We'd rather focus on perfecting this craft of embroidery. It's working, and our customers are coming, and they know what to expect from us. Mm-hmm.
I like to, Chris, and I just want to add to that. I'm a piggyback. I feel like if you're an amateur at a lot of things, you're not a master at one thing.
That's a good word.
And
very
I feel
true.
like,
very true.
I feel like if you're a master at one thing, like I say this all the time, I want to create, and we want to create a Chick-fil-A style business, dude. They started with a chicken sandwich for 20 years. Before they made a McNugget. I don't know if you guys know that.
Not a McNugget.
I mean, a McNugget. Why did I say a McNugget? A chicken nugget. They did 20 years of a chicken sandwich. And people were saying, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Why don't you now offer burgers? Why don't you offer fried? He's like, we are the home of the chicken sandwich, Or like the In-N-Out effect. You got number 1, number 2, number 3.
I wrote that down because I was going to say that, and you stole my line. I was like, you guys are totally the in and out of embroidery. That's that's what made them.
Yeah, and you just know what to expect. So, again, in my psyche, I never realized how much I love simplicity, but I realized that it's starting to show up more and more as I age, and as we start to continue this brand. You realize, man, simplicity literally is king. So even and to niche down even more, we're headwear specialists. So we actually don't even offer really all forms of embroidery. We're really headwear specialists where we really do hats and beanies. And we've been able to do great, you know what I mean, in just that space. And again, people all the time, now you guys need to do sports coats and sports jackets and blankets. And then we're like, but do we?
To add to that, it's like In-N-Out's secret menu. The secret menu is we can do the other things, and we do.
If you ask.
But it's on that secret menu.
Yeah.
That
You're
totally
not going to
makes
see it
sense.
on the site.
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, because otherwise then you got to have all those pieces and available. You got to start, having all that inventory and then all
You want
the
a franchise, you want to package a bow that's easy to comprehend. If I walked up to you and said, hey, I want to sell you this franchise. Well, what do you guys have? Well, we're headwear specialists, but we also do blah, 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 blah. You're like, all right, well, what about sizes? Oh, okay. Then you got 1,000 different SKUs. And then there's so many layers to that where you're like, I don't think I want this package anymore because this package is more of a time bomb than an actual package.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 'Cause there's so many layers behind it. So package it here. We're headwear specialists. Sweet. Done deal. There it is.
I love this because it's kind of, you guys are doing what I am hopeful we will all work towards in the future, where we're moving away from industrialization of products and, more like almost going back to the old days where you had a specialty and you do a really good job at it. And then you appreciate everyone else who does it. And we kind of lost that during being America, because whatever.
Well, I don't
That's
know.
a whole thing.
And I know growing up, my mom was like, learn as much as you can, because the more stuff you know, the more money you can make. And the older I get, the more I agree with the mentality of just specialize in something, man. Because if you do everything, then you a jack of all trades is a trade of nothing in my, like you say.
You can do anything, but you can't do everything.
Yeah. So
I feel like I'm being a mom today.
No. You're being.
That is okay.
Let's, we got to shift gears, directions to Salt Lake City. We have some Salt Lake City questions we ask on every episode, so we're going to have fun asking the both of you today. But I'm sure you have family and friends that come up and visit from San Diego, from California, right? And
we have a nephew here right now.
Yeah, so he's like, he's show us around, right? He's like, take us around, show us around. Mm-hmm. What's the Dixon tour, right? What's the Quinnell tour?
That's actually a really fancy name, the Dixon tour. I like it.
Street tacos.
Street tacos.
I am so impressed with the variety of taco stands in Salt Lake City. Like, come on.
Yeah, they're so good.
Especially all of our friends and family coming from San Diego. We're like, no, you got to try Mexican food in Utah.
And you know what?
Are they pretty impressed with it when they come up? And what do they say?
They all are. They all are. And so where we come in here, here's my quick thing about tacos. It's so minuscule, but it's important. We come from the part of San Diego where you throw a rock and you're in Tijuana, right? Like literally, right? So we've held this esteem of our Mexican food, but let me one up you really quick. I think the Mormon culture got it figured out. They went directly to Mexico. The heart of Mexico.
They did. They opened up
bring people to Utah to make Mexican food. So I'm like, yo, we kind of pulled on Tijuana, but they went to Mexico City.
Okay, that's hilarious because that is so true.
Right? So all these missions, they're going to Brazil. They're going to real places.
All these Latin American
countries. And they're bringing over people. So that's my take about that.
I love it.
I won't complain. More diversity makes me happy. Let's bring everybody.
Yeah,
I love it.
Were you done? I'm sorry.
I noticed that with I love the refugee community here too. I love that Utah.
Oh my gosh, there are some amazing things.
They're just bringing so much culture and diversity. I love it.
Mm-hmm. So to answer your question a little further from me, Chris, one thing that I think if you're visiting Salt Lake or you live here or whatever, really take advantage, and I can't even pinpoint one in particular, but take advantage of the outdoor scene here. I know that's so vague, but there's a couple of hikes right out here. It's called Ensign or whatever.
Ensign Peak?
But Ensign Peak is a good one that I like. Adrienne and my 7-year-old did the living room one.
Loved it.
I couldn't finish it.
Living room hike is so great.
Yeah, that was rough for me. I couldn't finish that one.
It sounds comfy. Living room hike?
The living room.
I'm not a hiker. This is, all new to me.
Yeah, but you know what? I say really taking advantage of the sun, you know what I mean, when you're here, especially when you live here, because COVID really showed us that when people stopped hanging out, especially during the winter, you're like, oh man, this is rough. Because normally during the wintertime, you're doing game nights, you're trying to go inside recreation centers and play basketball, like things that are inside. But when the sun comes out, pickleball is great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You gotta write that down. Pickleball.
Everyone out here plays pickleball. I've never even heard of it until I came out here.
I didn't.
You'd love it, I think, if you like something similar to tennis.
Yeah. If you like tennis, listeners that are on here or listening right now, if you like tennis and you like ping pong, they had a baby named Pickleball.
Yep.
It's the middle.
I get
the middle version. The court is in the middle of a tennis court, and the paddles are about a half of a size larger than a ping pong paddle. That's essentially pickleball.
Okay. Sounds right up my alley. I got to give that a whirl.
Yeah, nice and easy. I mean, for me, not you.
You mentioned street tacos. Any other favorite local eating spots that you guys like?
I wouldn't really call it local anymore because they've grown so much, but crumble cookies is my jam.
Okay.
I saw that they're popping up in Nashville when we were out there. They have a spot opening up in San Diego. Like they're all over the map now. But crumble cookies is legit.
One I think that's being utilized a lot more now, and I wouldn't really call them small anymore, is Mo Betta's. Mo Betta's solid.
Oh, yeah.
Solid.
And spilled milk.
Oh my gosh. Okay, please let me give you a sweet excerpt because I really love these guys. Spilled Milk. They just opened up their first location in the 9th and 9th. And it's cereal infused ice cream. So it's weird. What? You're like, why didn't people think of this before, right? It's just vanilla ice cream. It's vanilla ice cream with your favorite cereal in it, and then they blend it, but they still make it like a soft serve, and then they give you a variety of cones, like a red velvet cone to put it in, matcha. A coconut cone, a matcha cone. Just ridiculous, dude. Ridiculous.
We got to bring them on the podcast.
Oh my gosh.
I spilled milk.
Dude, you got to get spilled milk. Marvin he has a really great story. He played for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
No kidding.
He's an ex-football player, and he has a really good story. He's awesome. So I can give you a contact.
That is fascinating.
Wow. So I should bring him on a podcast just to talk about old Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, I should go with his ice cream.
And you know what? He did a year in a trailer. He started his first trailer, ended up having 7 trailers within 1 year, opened up in 9th and 9th right when COVID hit. He's like, this is sweet. This is a great time. I'm going to open up right now in the middle of winter. And then now he's working on the second location just 7 months later. Like, ridiculous. The dude is just insane.
Well, it's such a good idea. Who doesn't want, I mean, come on.
No, that's great.
Like, cereal, it's the best. And ice cream, it's the best.
Yep.
They're best together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would change about Utah or Salt Lake City if you could? Like, let's say you had that ability, and however you interpret it, whether that's like a big thing, a little thing, I don't know. Is there anything you would change?
I would completely do away with the East and West divide. I would love to see more Black people in Sugar House. Yeah. No lie. I would love to just diversify all of Salt Lake rather than having that East-West divide. Mm-hmm. I would like it to be just more of an urban and progressive and open, loving feel.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Yeah.
It's getting there.
It is.
It's happening. I know. I'm sure you've seen the biggest change in the last 10 years. I would like to see that, though. Like,
you assume everyone that's ethnic.
We don't want our boys to grow up feeling different.
Even down to sports, dude. Like, I had someone say, like, my kids, my 12-year-old started playing basketball a little while ago, and they're like, you want to take him to Rose Park because that's where they really play basketball. You're like, why Rose Park? And then you soon find out it's because if you're Black or African or some type of cultural background, they live in Rose Park or Glendale, right? So, and we've also experienced the opposite where we live in Sugar House, right? Like we work our asses out to be able to say, you know what? Like we can live wherever the heck we want to out here, right? Like we want to be able to be a part of whatever community we want to. And it's gone down to the fact where I've had someone ask, oh, do you live around here? Not where do you live, but do you live around here? You know, so just kind of like that small-mindedness that is still prevalent. It doesn't bug me much, but just the fact to say, do you live here? Not where do you live, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, we need to get to the point where like we're all humans, and that's all there is. Like we just are people, and we can love each other. And maybe there's some jerks.
Yeah,
stay away from them.
Love our differences.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Just like embrace it, appreciate it. I think we're going to do it. We're going to do it. You guys have me all motivated. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Whatever you guys do, I support
well, you guys are doing it. You guys are doing it right now with the Iron Salt Lake. I want to keep saying this, and I'm not. They didn't pay me, people, on this. They didn't pay me to say any of this. But what I am
advertising.
This is not a paid ad. But I really love the diversity that you guys bring to this podcast. Like the different, like you guys know, even some of our people, like Jeremy and Monique, you know, with Market Source, and like just like the little different things that you start to realize. I talked to someone about this a while ago. I feel like a prerequisite to being in Utah is you have to listen to the I Am Salt Lake podcast before you move.
I like that. That's a new rule.
Before you move, listen to it. And you start to realize, I'm like, damn, I should have heard some of these episodes a year ago, so I would have known what to do and how to navigate, because people's experiences are going to tell you faster than Google can, you know? So,
and that's exactly what I was hoping when I created this show.
Yeah. And I mean, both of us, we were transplants, and we both lived here for about 20 years before we even found kind of our tribe, you know? Wow. It takes a long time to figure out where you like what people you want to be around and what places you like. And it's hard. Yeah.
So
we
you
did
guys
look for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
Oh yeah, we're married. Yeah, we're married. We're
in the same room.
We've been married.
I love this podcast even more now.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're married. We're married. We've been married. Next month May will be 4 years.
4 years?
I'm pretty sure it's 4 years, right?
Probably. Yeah.
4 years. 4 years we've been married.
Saying that. What's funny about her saying that is I never knew that you guys, like I kept, you guys almost alluded, but you guys weren't like, I'm Chris Hollyfield and I'm Chrissy Hollyfield and we're married. You know, I just never really, like I know your drop.
I've started saying it recently.
Yeah. Like I know the drop,
I'm like,
I didn't know you guys are married. For a while, I definitely knew for the last year.
If you're listening, we could be siblings. Chris and Chrissy Hollyfield. Come on.
Yeah.
I thought you guys
It's a funny joke.
Partners initially.
Yeah.
So that's the new drop, Chris. This is Chris. This is Christy, and we're married.
We're gonna do that. We'll do that.
Marriage podcast. No, I don't know if that's what they're going for.
We did a dating podcast actually when we first started dating. We did a dating podcast. Sharing kind of scary dating stories.
It was successful, so we had to take it down because
got some of my old exes got a little mad that I shared some of the stories, but I didn't tell their name.
We didn't say
their name, you know. But
no, he had an ex who stole his identity.
Yeah,
and he told the story and did not say who it was. And she, years later, she somehow listened and came after him. I'm like, whoa!
Oh my god! Well, that's definitely a story you've got to tell. So
it's huge.
Is there anything, before we wrap this episode up, is there anything that you guys were hoping we'd have a chance to talk about that we didn't? I know we just kind of skimmed the surface on everything. I know your Kickstarter and your whole company, but I mean, is there anything you wanted to make sure we talked about?
I think, for me, dude, honestly, like I said, and I told you on Instagram that I've reached out maybe 3 or 4 times over the past 2 years, and we're just, at least for me, I'm honored to just be able to be, and I can speak for the both of us, just to be able to be on this podcast with you guys, really, and knowing that we have something valuable to offer to our community, to our sphere of influence, and to the world, you know? So I think that in itself is just, it's huge enough to know that you're making an impact, you're doing something that's worthy, and you're going to continue to grow in it. So thank you for seeing the value in that and responding back and saying, hey, we'd love to get you guys on, because I feel like you guys do hold the podcast to a certain esteem, not just letting anybody on. So we appreciate just the opportunity to be able to do that and do an update maybe after the Kickstarter and say, hey, this is where we're at now.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
We did that with Watchtower, I think.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I know we've
you
had
did.
Watchtower a couple times on the
Their
show.
caramel sauce is so good.
The Tongan caramel sauce.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
I haven't
Hey,
tried it.
we'd love to have you guys over this summer for like a bonfire.
Yeah,
Kids
we
can
do
hang
that
out,
too.
do all the
Oh my
things.
gosh, that'd be so fun.
Yeah.
I'm down.
We're down.
That would be
Let's
so
do it.
fun. And our son's a drummer too. I heard you say drums. So
Our 7-year-old's playing drums.
He
Yeah.
just started taking
that's
lessons
so
at
cute.
Slam, which is a local it's a nonprofit. That they're great.
that's so cool.
But if your son
Oh,
ever
I'm learning
wants
about
to
them.
make a little money teaching lessons, I mean,
Yeah, we'll do that. How old is your son? How old
He
is
actually does. He actually
He'll be 16 in June.
yeah.
right
Yeah.
on.
And
come
he
on.
wants to be a drum teacher, like a drum set teacher.
Wow.
Well, he
So-
can practice
he tears-
on our
he tears-
kids.
Yeah, you can practice on our boy.
He tears it up. He's
I'll talk to him. I'm serious.
Yeah.
He would be so
Have
excited.
him
I
work
wish-
together. Have him create a rate sheet,
Yeah.
and then
We'll
just
put it
There
let
you
us
go.
know.
I'm on it.
Thank you guys.
Chrissy has a final question that she asks everybody that comes through here. I'm going to let her ask the both of you. Thank you again for doing the podcast. We'll catch up down the road, see how everything's going with the embroidery.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You guys are so much fun to talk to. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I love what you're doing. Before we let you go, could you leave us with a motto or piece of life advice that you live by or you wish that everyone else would live by?
We're going to leave you guys, listeners, Chrissy, even with ourselves, to remind ourselves every day, smile. Shit could be worse.
Oh, I like that. All right. Thanks again to Quinell and Adrienne Dixon for joining us on this episode of the podcast. They were so much fun to talk to, and we had some fun off the air too. All of the links that we mentioned this conversation can be found with this episode's show notes on our podcast website, which is at iamsaltlake.com. And to find this episode, type iamsaltlake.com/481 into your browser.
Hey, and while you're on the website, dig through some of those back episodes, share some of them on your favorite social media outlets. That way you can help this podcast grow and get in front of more people. But I do want to mention a couple of other ways that you can support the podcast. These are always good ways that you could support this podcast. Help us grow, help us get in front of more people because we can always use some more listeners, right, guys? Hey, a few ways you can support the podcast. You can leave us a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts. We love reading these. We love seeing them. I know new listeners love reading them to find out if they want to find out about or if they want to listen to the podcast or not. So go leave us a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts. You can also become a Patreon supporter. Really easy to do. Go to patreon.com/IamSaltLake and then support us that way. Otherwise, have a great week. Get out and enjoy the city. Support local. And we're going to see you next week on the next episode of I Am Salt Lake Podcast.
And good night, Grammy.